As we said, we are in a series of stories in the Gemara which through the years we have told before, but because we're going in direct order of this Gemara itself, therefore we have these stories in succession. This is the story of one of the great rabbis of the Gemara, the Rabbi of Rabbi Akiva. We say Rabbi of Rabbi Akiva, you have to imagine how great he was. Rabbi Akiva was considered the greatest rabbi of all time. The only one about whom the Torah says that he matched in wisdom, he equaled Moshe Rabbeinu in wisdom. But Rabbi Akiva had rabbis who were his rabbis during his time of learning, and they were, of course, giants in holiness and in knowledge. One of these rabbis was Rabbi Nachman, who was called Nachman Ish Gamzu. He did not carry the title Rabbi Nachman, because some rabbis were so great that their names were greater than the word rabbi. For example, Hillel and Shammai were not called Rabbi Hillel or Rabbi Shammai. The name alone was greater than the word rabbi. And of course you can ask in that case, why is Moshe Rabbeinu not called by his name alone? The answer there is two. It is written that you have three ways of saying. You have Rabbi so-and-so. That's great. Greater than that is Gadol, is Rabban. Like Rabban Gamliel, Rabban is chief rabbi. And then Gadol Rabban Shemo. Greater than Rabban is the name alone. Greater than the name alone is if you have the word rabbi after the name, like Moshe Rabbeinu. The only one who has the word rabbi after the name, that's the highest. Now back to this case of Nachum Ish Gamzu. His name was Nachum, and he was called Ish Gamzu. There are two reasons why he was given that name. We'll see during the story. We'll explain it. Now this is the story tells of the time when Menachem Mendel Schneerson was blind, both eyes, both hands and arms were amputated, both legs were amputated, his entire body was filled, the rest of his body was filled with boils. He was in extreme suffering. Blind, no arms, no legs, and his body was with boils. He was lying on a bed in a house that was very shaky. There was danger of this entire house caving in. The bed he was lying in had four legs. The four legs of the bed were placed in 4 pans of water. This was done to avoid having any ants crawl up, worms crawling up the side of the bed and attacking him, biting him, because he had no arms to ward them off. You can picture his condition. It was great tzadik. So the students came in to move this bed out of the house. Of course, only because of the fact that the house was in such bad condition, it was in danger of caving in. And they said, you have your belongings here, your dishes, other articles, let's first move your bed out first. So you'll be safe. House caves in. So what if the items are lost? Our first concern is you. He said to them, my children, remove all the articles of the house first, and then you can remove me and the bed here. Why? Because I am certain that as long as I am in this house will not be able to cave in. The fact that I am a complete tzadik, which was Chassidut shall not said with conceit, it's said with simple sincerity, the knowledge of his own status. The fact that I am a tzadik, I'm that holy, and my greatness will protect this house from caving in. The minute I am removed, my greatness is removed, the house will cave in. As long as I'm here to remove all the articles, the dishes, and everything else, we know that they're safe. Then take me out. The student said to him, Rabbi, can we ask you a question? Since you are so great a tzaddik, how come this happened to you? have such a misfortune, tragedy happened that you have arms and legs amputated, blind, and body in such physical condition. We said to them, the fact is that it didn't happen to me. I did this to myself. I caused this to happen. Because one time I was going along the road, going to my father-in-law's home, and I had 3 mules carrying with various types of food. There was regular type of food. I had drinks on the second mule, and sweets on the third mule. I was traveling along the road slowly. Middle of the road, there approached me a very poor beggar. He stood in the road. He said to me, "Rabbi, please give me some food. Please feed me. I am hungry and starving." So I said to him, "Wait until I unload from my mule. I'll take your stuff off the mule first." I started to unload. Before I could get through, this poor beggar died. He couldn't wait that long. I had delayed too long in getting this food off. I went and told the story, continued the story. I went and fell down over him. I bent down over him and I said, "It's my fault. Therefore, my eyes that looked upon you and did not have enough pity upon you, let those eyes become blinded. My hands that did not have pity upon your hands and didn't move fast enough to remove the food on the mules, let these hands be amputated. My feet that did not move quickly enough, let them be cut off." Then I said, "I'm not satisfied. This is not sufficient penalty for myself, that my entire remainder of my body would be filled with boils, very painful boils." So the student said to Rabbi Nachman, "Woe is to us. Woe is to us that we see you in such condition." Woe is to us means, if this happens to you, it's so great a tzadik, we who are nothing in comparison, what do we deserve? Menachem Mendel answered them, "Woe would be to me if you didn't see me in this condition. If you saw me now in perfect condition, then you'd have what in pity. Because if I wouldn't get punished for this here, it means that my punishment will be waiting for me in another habet. You get punished in heaven, that's much worse. Better to get it over with during lifetime and come there pure." So they removed the articles in the house. They moved the Menachem Mendel from the house. As soon as he was out, the house came in. They saw how great he was. The Gemara says that why is he called Ish Gamzel? The name was Nachum. Why the name Ish Gamzel? The man of Gamzel. The Gemara answers because anything that ever happened, whatever happened, he would always say, in other words, any misfortune that would take place, he would always say, "Gam, Zu, Litova." Also, this happened for the good. He would never find fault or worry about something that seemed to be bad, tragic that happened. He always said, "This came from heaven, and it's a good sign. It's for the good. Nothing can happen instead." This is based upon what the Gemara says, that in heaven only good can come down. There is no evil or bad in heaven. And since everything happens from heaven, it's always good. It's just that people on earth are blind. They cannot see through it. It appears to them as bad. But it must be good. And the Gemara illustrates now a case to prove this point. And the Gemara tells us, though, that the real reason for being called Ish Gamzu is very simple. There was a city, Gamzu, and he was an inhabitant of that city. He was called by that city. It's like Eliyahu HaNavi is called Eliyahu HaGiladi, because it came from the city of Gilad. Nachum Ish Gamzu is called Nachum, the man from Gamzu, the city of Gamzu. The Gemara illustrates now why he was called Gamzu, and what's meant by the fact that he always maintained the policy of never complaining about anything bad happening. He always said it must be good. Only good can come of it. He made us tell a story that one time the Jews wanted to send a gift to the Roman king. they were under the rule, the yoke of the Romans at that time. They wanted to send the gift to the king to sort of appease him, to invoke his friendship. They said, whom shall we send as a messenger? They decided we'll send Menachem Mendel Schneerson because he's a very great tzadik, and if anything wrong may happen, he is accustomed to having miracles being performed to him. This story, of course, took place long before the time when he was incapacitated. So they gave Menachem Mendel Schneerson a little box, a small chest filled with diamonds, pearls, to be given to the king as his gift. And it was a long trip to the palace. And on the road he came to an inn, and he had to stay over there overnight. And while there, the innkeepers noticed he was carrying this expensive-looking chest. While he was asleep, they took his chest, they opened it and found these diamonds, and they figured it was some type. But they didn't want to suspect that they had taken it. They took dirt, filled the box, this chest with dirt that had the same weight as the diamonds. He got up in the morning. He didn't notice this. Took the chest with him, continued on his journey, and he came to the king. He brought private audience with the king. He told him this is a gift from the Jews. The king opened his chest. Imagine the insulting act of bringing the king dirt. The king was furious. And he immediately wanted to kill Menachem Mendel Schneerson. That was his first reaction. Because his servants, his ministers, told him the Jews are mocking you. Look at this gift they sent. When this was said, Menachem Mendel Schneerson immediately said, Gamzu b'tovah. It looks very bad, looks black, it looks dark. This is also for the good. It happened for the good. At that moment, one of these soldiers got up, one of the king's officers got up. And this, of course, was Eliyahu Hanavi, who came down, maybe former one of the king's officers. He said to the king, perhaps we should not be too hasty. Perhaps this is the earth that Avraham, the father of the Jews, used when he went into battle against their enemies. Because he had a kind of earth that when he threw this dust, this earth out, it turned into flying swords. It wiped out the enemy. This might be a remnant of that earth that Abraham Avinu used. Why not test it? The king said, good, we have where to test it. The Roman king said, we have one country, one land that we're trying to conquer for years and years, and we are incapable. We're not successful. Let's try it there. He sent this earth to his army stopping in that land. They tested it, and they immediately enjoyed victory. When the report came back to the king was overjoyed. He told his servant to take Menachem Mendel Schneerson to his treasure chamber, take this chest, and fill it now with the best diamond treasures of the king. He was sent off with great honor. On the way back, his road trip home, he stopped off at the same inn, and the innkeepers looked at him. They saw him come back with a chest. He showed them the diamonds now. They were amazed. They were speechless. And he asked him, what did you bring the king that made you merit such a prize? He said, I brought the king whatever I came with from here. That which I came with here, I brought the king. So, they figured, let's not play tricks with him now. We can do much better than just steal the chest of diamonds from him. So let him go on. And these people took their homes, their fields, they destroyed it, broke down the walls of their homes, and they crushed it, put it in a big chest. They went to the king and brought large chests full of dirt, rock. And they said to the king, this is the same earth that the previous messenger brought you. We brought you a lot this time. One look at these people, the king could see they weren't the same caliber as Menachem Mendel Schneerson. But he said, let's test it. They tested it, of course. It was worthless. And so all these innkeepers were put to death by the king. We see that Menachem Mendel policy of always saying Gam Zu Litoveh. You understand the translation of the word Gam means also in Hebrew, Zu, this, Litoveh, for the good. Also, this is for the good. Whatever happens is for the good. We told the story of the Yaakov who was going along in the forest. He was turned down. He had no money for a hotel. He had with him a mule, chicken, and a lantern. In the forest, the mule died, the chicken died, the lantern was extinguished. And each time he said, it's good. It's good because he was a student of Menachem Mendel. The result was that there were bandits, thieves who killed the people in that city. Because he had no mule to graze, or a chicken, a rooster to crow, or the lantern to give away his whereabouts, his life was saved. He said, you see that when something bad happens, it appears bad because you cannot see the future. But in heaven, when the thing is done, heaven knows what the future is. Only good comes from heaven. The one who is short-sighted, he cannot see the good yet. The one who has faith knows that it must be good since it is heavenly sent. This was the case of Menachem Mendel. The tzadik who taught this lesson to the students, which the Yaakov carried on after him. Further, the Gemara tells us that in Syria was the land where Rav was the chief rabbi. Rav was the greatest tzadik of his time. When we mentioned that he had lived 400 years, he was the greatest student of Rabbi Shimon bar Arizal. He's the one who wrote the Zohar HaKadosh. In the vicinity where Rav lived, a plague broke out. Disease, plague of death, and that is not in the country where Rav lived, in Syria. Syria, this plague broke out. In the immediate vicinity where Rav lived, no one got hurt, no one died. People said, what a sign this is. See what it is to live close to a tzadik. Rav is so great a tzadik that the angel of death could not penetrate this vicinity. He killed, he claimed victims throughout the entire country, but not in the vicinity of Rav. Well, a message came from heaven to the people in that vicinity. They all had the same dream, to notify them of their error. The dream they were told, this is not due to Rav's greatness, business law, because it would be degrading to say that this is his greatness. Rav is much greater than having something this done for him. This doesn't take a big thing to get the place saved, rescued from the angel of death. Why then did this vicinity escape death? Because of someone else, one much smaller than Rav, much less important. Ordinary person, simple layman, but who always was very quick in lending his articles that were necessary. He had garden tools, other things that were necessary for the burial tools. Cemetery, in order to bury people, would then have these shovels, so on, to bury the dead. And he was anxious always to help the people, putting in his tools. Simple act like that, because he did this mitzvah, helping bury the dead. Therefore, in his zechut, death stayed away from this vicinity. The Gemara says too that the city of Tzedakah, where Rav was chief rabbi, the fire broke out. This was a very large, expensive fire that covered a great many portions of the city. But in the immediate vicinity of Rav there was no fire at all. It was an invisible wall stopped the fire from entering this vicinity. Again, here too, the people were under the impression that it must be because of the zechut of Rav that this happened. They too had a dream, and they were told that Rav is much greater than having this simple case happen. Illustrate his greatness. The reason for this vicinity being saved is because of a woman. There's a woman there who was so kind-hearted that she always heated her oven at Shabbat and allowed her neighbors, women, to come inside and bake on her oven. They would save the task of heating their own ovens, or the expense of heating, and she was that good-natured to let these poor people bake on her oven. Because of her goodness in letting her fires be used, Therefore, fire itself, the angel of fire, became her friend, and that's why no fire could come to her vicinity. This directly is related with the item we'll have later on, where we find that women can perform certain mitzvot better than men. Women are considered, are thought to be inferior to men. After all, when it comes to major mitzvot like tefillin, sukkah, women are exempt. They're missing the most important mitzvot in life. Yet there are certain other mitzvot that they have where their mitzvot can be more important, or one can equal all the major mitzvot of men. And in this case, notice there must have been good men in that vicinity too. And they did not rate having this fire prevented from coming to the vicinity. It was this woman's act. We'll have more on that a little later. The Gemara says that Rabbi Yehuda, the chief rabbi at this time, was told there seems to be a plague coming, a plague of locusts, coming to attack the fields of the Jews. Rabbi Yehuda declared or decreed a fast day for all Jews to fast and to pray. So people told him, well, why should we fast? After all, we have not had reports of any damage being done by the locusts yet. So perhaps they'll pass by without stopping in this other field. And Yehuda answered them sarcastically, did you contact the locust leaders and find out if they took along their lunches with them? They bring food. They came here, they're coming here to eat. So let's not delay a moment to declare this fast and prayer. If only that manner will be saved from this plague of locusts. In the city of Shmuel, chief rabbi in this city, it was told that there is a plague of death, a deadly disease that has struck a city, the neighboring city of Beit Hosea. Shmuel decreed a fast in his city. People asked him, but the plague is very far away. The disease is far. Why should we fast? But the disease has not struck our city. Here too, Shmuel answered sarcastically, do you think that this plague needs a boat to cross the river? Or if there's no bridge, the plague will stay on its own side. This plague can strike, doesn't need transportation. We are as much in danger and we should be ready to prepare for it by prayer. Rabbi Nachman was in Babylon. He was told that there's a plague of death that has struck Eretz Yisrael. He issued a decree, fast in Babel, and he said, we are so far from Eretz Yisrael, so there's surely no possibility of any contagion, this plague reaching us. The reason we must fast, to declare the day of prayer, is because Eretz Yisrael is called a master or a queen, where we are, Galut, is called a maid, in general. So if the queen is stricken, if any hardship, decree comes down against the queen, surely the maid is in danger. If Eretz Yisrael has a plague, then surely Babel is certainly in jeopardy, and therefore we should be prepared with praying and fasting for it. The Gemara says that there was a man named Abba Umna. He was a doctor, not a rabbi. Yet he was a very great tzadik. Umna means an expert in his field. In those days, the days of the Gemara, they had a different method for curing people. If a person had a fever or he had a disease, there was one way they cured it, and that was to remove the diseased blood from the body. They called it letting blood. They would take a special article, a syringe sort of, and through this draw out a certain amount of blood from the person's arm, and with this bad blood would come out this disease, and so a person would be cured. depending upon the extent of the disease, that's how much blood they would let out. Of course, after the person had this blood let out, he had to recuperate by eating well to receive new blood, to rebuild himself. And this Abba Una was a doctor and expert in this field, and at that time, he lived in a time of Abaye and Raveh, two most famous rabbis, the Gemara and a later generation, the two biggest tzadikim of their time. The Gemara says that every day there would come a message from heaven, from the yeshiva of heaven. In heaven is the yeshiva with the angels, the holiest souls of tzadikim, and the yeshiva would send a message of shalom, of greetings to Abba Una, this doctor, every single day. Imagine what an honor that is, how great the tzaddik must have been. Now, to Abaye, who was one of the two chief rabbis then, the message was sent every Friday, every Erev Shabbat, once a week. This doctor got a message every single day. Abaye received the message only once a week. And Abba received the message once a year, every Erev Yom Kippur. Now, Abaye felt very bad about this. Why did he deserve once a week when he was a chief rabbi and the biggest tzadik then, and this doctor who wasn't even that much learned, didn't study Torah, he got a message once a day? What is this superiority that this doctor has over the chief rabbi of the Gemara? He was told, he received a message from heaven telling him, to Abaye, telling him that don't envy this doctor, don't feel badly because you cannot emulate this doctor. You couldn't do the good that he does, as great as you are. So he asked, what is his greatness? What does it consist of? He said, well, Abba Una is one who draws blood from patients. This means you have to roll up the sleeve and draw blood. This is done to patients, both male and female. According to Torah, a woman's first primary mitzvah, above all mitzvot, is the mitzvah of kiruv, modesty. To dress modestly, to cover places that must be covered. One of the places that is considered that must be covered are the arms, up to below the elbow. The blood is drawn from the arm that's above the elbow. This is ervat, forbidden for a man to see it. So Abba Umna, this doctor, had a special sheet cut out. The woman would sit and have a small opening, an aperture in this sheet, just enough to get this tube inserted through the sheet into the arm, and that way draw out the blood, so he would not have to look at the woman's arm. This is one point of his greatness. Secondly, he would keep men and women in separate rooms. They shouldn't see each other. So it's not to incite any temptation on the part of men, being women patients. Third, he was that good that he never embarrassed a patient. Not everyone can afford his treatment. So he had a special cup placed there, and notice was written there that anybody who could afford should pay the price. Those who couldn't are exempt. Nobody can see what a person puts in. So no one can tell the person paid the full price, he paid a few cents, he paid nothing at all. No one was embarrassed when he was buy yourself good, healthy food so you can perfect yourself, strengthen yourself. This was in addition to the fact that he was not charging for the visit. This is what Abaye was told. These are all very admirable traits. Abaye said, I want to test him, see how true this is, how well-meaning this is. He sent two of his students, two very great rabbis for him, test him, he told them. They had to have blood taken. They came to his home, and he recognized them as big rabbis. He examined them, and he helped them. Then he told them afterwards, sit down, please, here's some food, you've got to eat and drink. And he said, no, you still must be weak. I'd like to invite you to sleep over my home. They accepted. He took some very expensive blankets, folded them, placed them under them for them to sleep on to be soft. I got up early in the morning, upon instructions from the Abayeh to test them, they took these expensive blankets, they wrapped them up, and they sneaked out of the house. They stole out with these blankets in their possession. And they went to the marketplace, and they waited. And then this doctor came, was walking past. They told him, "Good morning, doctor. We'd like to ask you a question. We are not too acquainted with the value of items. We'd like you to appraise this item for us." They showed him the blanket. "What do you think this is worth?" He told them, "I believe it's worth so much or so much." So they said, "You might be mistaken. Perhaps it's worth more." He said, "No, that's how much I paid for it. I know how much it's worth." So they said to him, "Well, then you realize these are yours. We took them from you." He said, "Now, that you know we took it, we'd like to ask you, please tell us, what did you suspect us of? You were aware of the fact we took it. Did you suspect us of a crime?" He said, "Chas v'shalom. Never suspected a crime. I felt perhaps you needed this desperately to use for the mitzvah Pidyon Shivuyin. The highest charity in existence is the charity of ransoming a Jew in captivity. You needed the money to raise the money for this ransom. Therefore, you took it because you're allowed to take something when you're in such desperate state. So that's why I gave it to you. I didn't complain at all. I was very happy you took it. And I figured that perhaps you were embarrassed to ask me for it. You took it, and I said I felt certain you were right." And they said to him, "Well, now that you are aware of the fact that we did not take it for that reason, you just took it for the gain. So please take it back." He said, "Impossible. I cannot take it back anymore because the minute I saw this was taken, in my mind, I made this hektish. I declared this holy as charity in my mind. Once I declared my possession charity holy, I cannot take it back anymore. Now you must keep it and give it to charity." When Abaye heard this, he said, "I understand now that it's impossible for me to copy Abaye. First place is his heart, his good-heartedness, his purity is not to be admired. Second place, he said, I'm too busy learning Torah. I can't take time out to be a doctor and do these things. I could never copy what he's doing." But he stopped feeling badly about the fact that this doctor deserved having his greetings from heaven every day. Meanwhile, Rav felt slighted. Why should Abaye receive a message every Friday, every Erev Shabbat, and Rav the message only once a year, Erev Kippur? He was given the answer in a dream. The reply was, Rav, you don't get a message every day, a greetings, but enough the fact that you know that after Abaye passes away, you will become the chief rabbi of both your domain and his together. And yours are chut, knowing what will have to protect everyone in both cities. This should suffice to appease you completely." The Gemara says that Rav Broka, one of the great rabbis of the Gemara, was once walking along a large marketplace, and he met Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu the prophet. Now, of course, this shows how great he was, because Eliyahu Hanavi will not appear before just any person. No one could see him except a very, very great subject. When he met him, Rabbi Nachman said, "I'd like to ask you a question. You see this marketplace filled with so many people? A lot of people here must be good, very good. Some more, some less. But can you tell me, is there anyone in this entire marketplace who is going to get Gan Eden, guaranteed?" And this, of course, means the marketplace of Jews. In those days when the Jews were much more religious than today, just that everyone got Gan Eden. This question didn't be that. The question was, anyone here that pure, and of course will go to Gan Eden, but anyone that perfect that will go to Gan Eden the moment he dies without having to appear before the heavenly court even. That pure that there's no question of Gehinnom, trial, suffering, or anything. He's that perfect will go right to Gan Eden. He said to him, nobody here that pure. He waited a few minutes and then he said to wait. There's a man coming down the road, the market. this one is one who will receive Gan Eden directly. Rabbi Nachman said, I must meet this man. What kind of a tzadik is this? He must be a genius in Torah. He must be one who prays all day long and learns Torah and does nothing else but confines himself to only acts that are holy. I mean, gaze upon this man. He came close and he saw this man was dressed in very simple, ordinary clothes of goyim, not even wearing Jewish clothes at all. So I was saying, of course, there was a very clear distinction between clothes of goyim and clothes of kiruv. Like today, there are certain aspects there is a difference. Despite the fact that many Jews today have adopted the habits, the garments, and the mode of goyim, but the law, according to Torah, does draw a line. In those days, of course, all Jews dressed one way, while the goyim dressed otherwise. Same as the Jews in Egypt, who were taken out of Galut in Mitzrayim. The Torah tells us because of the fact, one of the reasons was purely because of the fact that they never changed their clothes. They were slaves in Egypt, but they kept their clothing as Jews, which they were not ashamed of. And he saw this man was wearing clothes of goyim. Not only that, he didn't have any tzadik on. Which Jew goes without tzadik? He said to him, I've got to find out what this man does. What makes him so great a tzaddik? We'll never go to Gehenna. We'll never have any trial in heaven. He's that pure. The very after he said to him, please, I must talk to you. The man said, Rabbi, I have no time to talk to you. Come back tomorrow. I'll talk to you then. I figured this is a mystery. Where's coming back? The next day he came and he said to him, tell me, what do you do? I'm sure you're not a rabbi, not a teacher. What's your work? He said, I am a jail keeper, prison keeper. Fine, what's the big thing about a prison keeper? He said, the first place I see that men and women are kept separately, and in prison you have the wrong element. I keep my bed at night in between the men's section and women's section. They didn't have them closed in bars like today, of course. They were herding like cattle. I keep them separate. And at no time can any man attempt to do anything wrong to molest a woman, so as long as I'm there. And if I see that there is one woman, a Jewish woman, who happens to be in prison for some charge of any kind, and I see goyim want to attack her, then I jeopardize my own life. I risk my life to save her. One time there was a girl who was engaged, and of course there was a death penalty for any relations with a Jewish engaged or married woman. And there was goyim who wanted to molest her. So I took some red wine and I poured it over her and told them that she's right now in an unclean state. This way I saved her. The cast said it's very nice, it's commendable, but still I don't see why this person deserves complete Gan Eden. This is a nice act, but it's not that much. He said, why do you wear clothes of goyim? Why couldn't you wear regular clothes? He said, why don't you wear tzitzit? And he answered, because without these tzitzit, with these clothes, I can mingle with goyim. And that way I find out their plans of the officers, the officials of the kingdom, if they have any plans to issue a decree of any kind against the Jews. When I hear about this, I notify the Jews immediately, and the chief rabbis of the Jews declare a fast, a day of prayer. This way they negate this decree. So he said, I asked you yesterday to speak to you. Why did you refuse? Why did you postpone it till today? I said, because yesterday I heard about a certain plan that Goyim had, and I said, I must go tell the chief rabbis about this to save them. Now, the Rakan was satisfied. He felt, well, I've met one. This entire place, nobody else is that good. And two men were walking by, and the NBI said to Rabbi Nachman, these two also are ones who received Gan Eden immediately. And he ran to them and he asked them, what do you do? They said, we are jokers, comics. It's not to be lauded, be praised, because the Torah frowns upon comics. We have the Holy Temple destroyed, the Jews in Galut, there's nothing to laugh about much. The Torah says that in heaven there's no laughter. What's good about comics? So he said, well, when we see a person in a very depressed state of mind, he's very sad, he's an absolute, and a person just seems to have given up hope, he's that forlorn, and we raise his spirits by joking, by laughing, bring him to a higher spirit, to a elation where he can go back, return to good thought. And this is the biggest mitzvah possible, to make a Jew happy, to bring simcha to a person, especially, let's say, one who is sick, one who has worries, to bring happiness to him, to bring a little joy to his life. That's the biggest mitzvah possible. Secondly, they said, if we see two people who are arguing, there's a battle between them, and we do our best to intervene and to make peace between the two, whether it's husband and wife, or whether it's two friends who have sort of become estranged. They're at odds, we try to make peace between the two. Now, this is a simple translation. Of course, there's something much deeper than this, in that the Gemara tells us, the pasuk by King David, what can really bring joy to the heart of a Jew is the study of Torah. Nothing can make a Jew feel more lighthearted, more satisfied, and an interesting study of Torah. These two were Chachamim, who said if we see a person who's depressed and sad, we make him happy, not by telling jokes, by telling him words of Torah that pacify him, that appease him, and then bring a lighter feeling to him and more satisfaction and happiness. When we see two people battling means we see a person who is tempted. He's in the middle of a war with himself. He has the Yetzer Tov, the Yetzer Hara, the good and the bad. And he's trying to battle to overcome his Yetzer Hara. We help him because we encourage him, we tell him about how big of a mitzvah is to defeat the Yetzer Hara in Shaitan, how great the reward is. Ultimately, this will be help to make peace within himself. This certainly, he said, rates being zochet to Gan Eden. And it's this lesson we must learn that Bein Israel stresses very much, the mitzvah of combination of simcha and shalom. Person to always be the simcha, and if he is the simcha, that's the greatest weapon against the Yetzer Hara. And if the Yetzer Hara rules over that person who is in a depressed state of mind, who has worries and who gives up hope too easily, person should always be in a happy frame of mind, because simcha is the best cure, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And that way he'll have peace within himself, peace of mind, peace of heart. Really, chavruta, that kind of peace in simcha will be zochet to the Atzloy of tzadik, the Abed Mikdash, the Herav Yameno, Amen, Amen.
They spend all the time. They keep the car. You have these. That makes $5,000 every car, like $5,000. How do you live on that? Here's not a house. You get it out of the car. You get a car. How do you get the car? You drink the leftover again. The old oil where you get the oil change. Car or anything. Those are the cars superior to the man. So people, they think objects and they think that's materialism. That's materialism. Hey, Brown boy, open the fancy jackets, you know. I don't even know. That's the way it is. You need to turn around to me. It's good for me to turn around. You don't get everything just this good. You get something on the floor. You need different things on different levels. You need different things. And the best thing is fortunate. Even luxuries today, aren't luxuries, they each drugs aren't luxuries today, number one. And you need some luxury, each person is on level. Each person is on his level. They say a person is rich. A person is rich. And he needs more money. In the army now, and people support him. Okay, well, caviar with wine. What if we do like that? You give him caviar and wine. okay, this is right. He's used to that, that's his mind. To him, this level, he has to have that. Whatever you sensitive to, whatever you see, it's good according to the way you trust the living. That's what he gets. You go confident. That's the Lord. Why? If the person is used to certain things sensitive to it, so that's the way it is. But each person is different. Each person is different. But when you have like, you have to understand what. That's what one is buying. If the guy who's not buying someone and so forth, that's what it is. That's what it is. But they come up like this, you don't have to mention for someone. Right? They come from Beirut. But looking at that book, that's why it's and it comes to you to start working now. And it works up to the big time, and it makes $2 an hour, $3 an hour, $4 an hour. So if you get the thing, bring it. I got a hey. I got moved to the 60th side of New York. One day I'll buy a piece. They get stuck in the fancy, it's cold. You go upstairs. You're on your way. You go to the Volga. You're on your way. You're going to do time. A Lebanese city. You're going to have a demonstration at your account. That's terrible. That's what it is. You have to run for that. You have to forget about what you I don't know, but how you can make a family. They say go to your monthly and finish your head. Never remember that. You're going to have another thing. Why did you set up? Not fun for commercial now. What is this? Not now. Syrian Jewish. That's Syrian. We made this now. That's right. Two guys escaped from Syria. They got a lot now. We love Amazing. Let's come a boat. Oh, my God. They're much. Yeah, but not the only way to get the better stuff. Family was the big deal. They had a family. They're going to be there. Now I'm saying, let's say, they're constant. Yeah, up there like the FBO. I used to have but the thing is, you're going to the process. What do you really want to do like this stuff? They're very sensitive. What do you want to do? That's the deal. You're going to do like, one of them, you got to say, learn. Learn more. If you leave the country, you have to make your birthday, but you do it also, right? Don't do that. Don't get into those ones that I want to do. 10 years, you don't get it. Instead of trying to do 3 years. That's what you do all the time. Every month. Every single day. Every single day, you gotta learn. You gotta play. walking the street. What's on the property down? Yes, I know. In another direction. So I have to find God. I'm going to. Oh, yes. My brother was walking down Thursday night. He got to put the night on. Last night, 2 blocks west of my house. Every the other brother, I don't want to. He got lucky because he got there. And no matter how careful you are, you're still in trouble. The only way is to really use it cost effectively. I remember that happened once. Me and Eli were walking home with two of us. We saw him capture his brother. Well, he captured his brother slowly. He had to cut his brother. So one thing, I thought, oh, they were walking up the garden and we were cooking what's way, those some of the others in the right way, the Cadillac, and maybe they go what's turn. No, I'm talking about that capture stop and I understand this, not now. Somebody has a number here about another computer. Not now. Rock stop. The guy behind the step. Okay, I want to just that one. The only thing you gotta do is to look at the sanctuary. You can't go by doing things. By doing good things. Praying, helping out people. By doing constructive things, how about talking for it? I'm not saying that. Don't worry about the tough guys. The nature they give you is tough. It's true. No. The work comes in those parts. Don't worry. If someone's coming in one problem, it's okay. Don't have to drop it there. Right off my head. Zach, you want to get out of here? It is hard. It is hard. That's why you have to make it. Just make it so that you're so much. You let it go, you need to take care of all these things. What you're not worrying about, you need to take care of things, Robert. And not burning, you need to take care of your talking and wasting time and being lazy and your homeland. How many people stay off the work for one? No, I object. I'm not going to watch it. 80 million people watch it.